Good evening and welcome to this live stream by the bridge. The first WPL mega auction since its inaugural edition 3 years ago will be held tomorrow in New Delhi. This evening, we'll kind of preview the auction and try to make a sense of the retentions the five teams have made and the players they might target in the auction. And to help me with it, joining me today is Dipanshu Jain, a core member of our team at the bridge and a journalist, and Inakshi Rajvanshi, who is a former cricketer herself and is also a Ramnath Goenka awardee. Uh, Welcome, guys. Welcome to the live stream.
Hello.
Thank you, Abhijit.
Yeah,
So good to be back to be doing a live on the bridge and not hosting it.
good to have you back as well, Inakshi. So, yeah, without wasting much time, we'll just get right into it. So, the auction, as I said earlier, is set for tomorrow. The five teams, as usual, and they have a combined purse of 41.1 crore uh, and a combined 73 slots to fill in the auction. Uh, but the number of people in the auction, the number of players in the auction stands at 277, which essentially means that over 200 players will unfortunately not find any teams. But that's just the nature of how the auctions work. And as always, each team can have a maximum of 18 members in the team, and they need to create a squad of minimum 15 players. A lot of big names will be in the auction. Some of biggest names in the sport like Meg Lanning, Sophia Christian, Deepthi Sharma, among the others, have been released by the franchises and they will feature in the auction. So, Dipanshi, Inakshi, any big names that you are excited to watch out for come the auction tomorrow? Inakshi, you can go.
I think Phoebe Litchfield is one name that a lot of teams would be looking at because a top order lefty. There are very few of them in the auction pool, and especially her World Cup has been going really well. Had gone really well, and then there is Daniel Whitehodge, who has been doing very good in the Big Bash. So I think few of these foreign names for sure a lot of people would be after.
I also add Laura Wolfert also. Her World Cup was also very good. And she will be very good addition to any team. She will go.
Yeah, it was also very surprising to see Phoebe Litchfield being released by the Gujarat Giants. But we'll come to that later. We'll start going team by team, one by one, and we'll start with the defending champions. Let's start with the Mumbai Indians itself. They've retained the highest amount of players as expected, including captain Harmanpreet Kaur. They've also retained the likes of Amanjot Kaur, G. Kamalani, among others. What do you make of their retention strategy? They've had to let go of Amelia Kerr, again, a very big name. I think one of the best all rounders in the world cricket, but they had to do it because of the team combinations and because of the retention rules. Inakshi, what do you think of how the squad looks so far? Five players, and also among one of the teams with the lowest purse in the auction. Uh, how do you think they'll go about tomorrow?
So as far as I know, like even a meeting had happened in July, and the owners were not in favor of a mega auction actually, and because they wanted to maintain their core and they have won two titles, so why would they want to change a lot of things, which is not the case for a lot of other like two of the other teams. So they would want to get a lot of players back. They would go for Amelia again, but she would be in demand because she had like 18 wickets last season, highest wicket taker in WPL. So a lot of people would be going, and since Mumbai doesn't have a lot of money in the purse, it could be tricky to get her back. Kamalini has been great in the domestic season, but I think they will go for maybe other experienced or a capped wicket keeper, maybe Amy Jones. I don't think they'll go for Healy, but they might just. But I think Healy is a good option for others to have as a captain. They would probably want an Indian fast bowler. Uh, could be Kranti, could be Renuka. Uh, and I think Mumbai has been always very good at scouting, so they will look at some new talents, maybe like a Diya Yadav who comes from Shafali Verma's school of batting and has been doing great in domestic season. A few left arm orthodox uh, players who are uncapped and could be good to scout. And I've heard they have been going to a lot of domestic tournaments as well in the recent times to kind of scout these players. So I think for Mumbai, it's going to be really important how they can get the core back, maybe like a Saika or a Pooja Vastrakar who has been doing good rehab, and they would like to do some new scouting. At least 2 3 players I'm expecting would be surprise picks from the domestic circuit. And like I said, maybe like a left top hand batter like a Phoebe or like an AB Jones. So let's see how that's gonna go.
Right, and the important thing here to note is Mumbai Indians are the only team in the auction who don't have a right to match available. They've kind of used all of the, as in they've have had the maximum retention, so they don't have an RTM available. Uh, do you think, Dipanshu, this will affect in how Mumbai Indians go about their business? Because they are a team who like to, you know, bag the players that they have. We've seen it multiple times in the IPL. They go all out even to, secure the players that belong to the team even via the trade window. So how is this going to come into the picture?
Yeah, this might hurt them. Amelia Kerr will be in big demand this time, so they might lose her. Also, I don't think they will get Yastika Bhatia, though I don't think who will be their fellow partner for Haley Matthews, who can be their opener. So that will be a big trouble for them.
Especially Yastika Bhatia, she had her surgery, so I don't know if
Yeah.
she'll recover in time. But a lot of other teams would also probably want her as a wicket keeper because I don't know, there's not a lot of Indian or international wicket keepers in the pool. I think every little girl should now start taking up wicket keeping in India.
You make a very great point. There are not really quality wicket keepers available, but I think with Kamalini in there for Mumbai Indians, will they trust her with that duty and just draft her straight into the 11? Considering, you know, uh, you only mentioned right, she has had a good domestic season, and last season she got a couple of opportunities. I think she won a game for them with a boundary, and so that is going to be a very interesting thing to note when it comes to Mumbai Indians.
She's a
Uh,
left-hander as well, so that's also
yeah.
helpful.
So if she can, they look to slot her in at the top order is what I guess is going to happen. But I think we'll have the answers tomorrow. Uh, let's move on to the next team. I guess I think we'll move on to Delhi Capitals, the forever runners up of the Women's Premier League. Unfortunately, 3 seasons, 3 finals, and 3 losses in those finals. A big call to release Meg Lanning of all the names there. They've also retained 5 players, but letting go of Meg Lanning uh, again does not really uh, feel good, at least for fans and as an you know analyst out watching from outside. You feel Lanning is someone they'll back, or any other team for that matter will back. What do you make of that? And actually, you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Meg Lanning, she's been a legend of the game, to be fair. And of course, they would want to go back and get her. But I think they would require a few all rounders as well. They would try to get Jess Jonathan back. She's been doing great. I think she did a really good in a recent BBL decent match as well. So for them, it will be again, they don't have a big purse. They have what 5.7 crores. So it will be very tricky how they're gonna approach getting the players. But they have quite a few of good Indian names with Jemima. So I think yeah, it's gonna be tricky for them, and they will have to depend on. It will depend a lot on how the in which order the names are gonna come up because that is how MI and DC will have to kind of figure how they can get and steal players from other teams. I think what DC would probably also do is they will wait for a few good names to get unsold and then try to get them in the end. I think that is one strategy they would have to do if they have to get some. Because honestly, there are so many players, good players right now in the auction pool. I feel 5 teams are very less. We should have at least 7 teams. They are players like Shamari Atapattu and all those who are not even in the main list, which is quite unbelievable to be honest. So yeah, let's see.
Right, and releasing Beglaning also means that now Jemima is their top pick for the captain, or I believe she might have to be if they don't get any big names. Dipanshu, any takes on how Jemima might fare if and at all she is, given that captaincy duty come the tournament.
I don't think Jamie will be the captain. I think they will get for something like Elisa Haley or Laura Wolford for their captaincy choice. Because Jamie putting pressure on Jamie for the captaincy, I don't think it will be that good for them.
Right, but again, we've been talking of auction dynamics. If it doesn't work out, maybe is Jemmy really prepared to take on the duties in action?
I think so because she does captain Mumbai, right? And she's on top of her form. She has had a great World Cup stint, and after that innings that she played, I think her self belief should be like 2x, 3x. So and I think she can. I think she is equipped enough to be able to captain. But yeah, I think if they can get somebody like a Lanning back or like a Healy, which will be tricky, then they might not. But I think with the purse left, they'll probably have to stick to what they have, and they won't be getting the big names that they are aiming for.
They also have Marizan Cap in the mix. I just realized she's also one of the, I think, most experienced players going around and a great all rounder as we saw at the World Cup as well. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
so that is how Delhi shapes up, and the retentions apart from Jemmy and Cap are Shafali Verma, Annabelle Sutherland, and the young Nikki Prasad. So Nikki Prasad, for those of you who don't know, I think was the captain of the women's under 19 team at some point. So again, a
Yeah.
very good young talent in their mix. Up next, we have the UP Warriors, who have gone the complete opposite of what MI and DC have done this tournament. They've kind of released almost everyone. You won't expect someone like a Sophie Eccleston, I think the best bowler across format in women's cricket at the moment, to be, kind of released ahead of a mega auction. For any other team, she might have been one of the top picks, but here we are, and the only retention they have is Shweta Sehrawat. Now, Sehrawat is also not someone who is had a huge success in the WPL in the two season that she's played. She's scored decent amount of runs, but for sure the team management might have seen something more in her for her to be, the only replacement. What do you think? There are also four RTM options available, so we can't obviously rule out Eccleston or Aditi Sharma being back in this setup. What do you make of this whole strategy where you go all out to kind of rebuild in action?
yeah. I think they want to keep things open until the end, and they would again try to get back a lot of them through RTM, which is a great strategy because prices will hike up to a certain level, and then they can just like they don't really have to like keep bidding. So I think that is what they're gonna probably do to get Deepti back, or maybe like an Eccleston. So that I think they might go for Kranti as well because again she's been doing good in the World Cup and she has been instrumental in India's win with like starting out in the power play. So for UP Warriors, they have a lot of money, so I think they'll also play a lot of mind games where they will try to hike up prices for DC and MI and just then not get the players. I think that is going to happen. And with Shweta Sehrawat, I think yeah, again it's a lot to do with the kind of potential she has and the kind of power she can generate while batting. So that is why probably they have uh, gone with that. But yeah, I think let's see how they kind of build up the squad again because they haven't had a lot of success in the tournament anyway. So
Dipanshu, what do you make of this? Inakshi seems to be a big fan of what they have done. Do you have any other take, or do you concur to okay they need a rebuild because
Yeah.
they, along with Gujarat Giants, are one of those teams who haven't really had any success in the first three
Yeah, their
seasons.
biggest
What
problem
do you
always
think?
their openers. So they might want someone like Phoebe Litchfield this time, or they might retain Elisa Haley back by RTM. But if this releasing 17 players, it might cost them because they might don't get those players they wanted. Like Deepti Sharma might not come back to UP. I don't think she will come back to UP this time. So they might go for Sophie also, but
That's a
Sophie will
bold
also,
statement to make.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go on, go
But
on.
Deepti will be the star of the auction. I think she will be the biggest bidder. See,
I mean, it would be heartbreaking if Dipti Sharma goes anywhere, right? They had a big roadshow for her in Agra after the World Cup, and she's now the star of the state, star of the state where the franchise is based. If they are unable to get Dipti Sharma back, that would be kind of a big setback. And also interesting that you mentioned that the opening slot has been a problem for UP, and they've had multiple players there. They've had a certain Vrinda Dinesh open for them. They've had, I think, Kiran Navgire
yeah.
also there. So a lot of this young Indian talent, they had kind of given a chance, and now it I think I think the idea is to go, back some two experienced guys at the top, as the Panchu mentioned.
Yeah,
And
I think
also they
Kiran will
had someone
also.
like a yeah
Yeah,
yeah
sorry.
go on.
Go ahead. Yeah, so saying Kiran is someone who a lot of other franchises will be looking out for because she has done really well. She can hit really well, and she has done great for them. I don't know. Yeah, like again, I think they just wanted to like take some time to strategize and build like a team where they can probably change some strategies and this time go for the title. But I think they will still try to get a lot of people back through RTM, and like it's just a very mind thing that they have done here. But yeah, I think Kiran and somebody who other franchises will definitely have like eyes on.
They also had Kranti Gaud in the mix. It was Kranti's performance for the UP Warriors which got her to the Indian team and eventually led her to play a very crucial role in India's World Cup win. So even did that also come as a surprise? Why? Because Kranti is, I think, the best young pacer India has at the moment. Why would you kind of go about releasing Kranti? Yeah, Dipanshu in action.
Yeah, for me, I think fast bowling, Indian capped fast bowling options, anyway, the demand is more, supply is less. So releasing somebody like a Kranti is tricky because see, Renuka, RCB will try to get back. Mumbai doesn't have a India pacer as of now. Uh, so obviously everybody would want to go for an India. Like they have to have one capped Indian. That is what I'm thinking. They obviously might go for like a Lauren Bell or someone who is experienced. But again, that would be tricky because they can only play for foreign players, overseas players. So they have to probably get somebody experienced because, like, even like somebody like Joshita Vijay, who RCB had gotten, I think RCB had gotten her last year. I am not sure, but she did really well. But again, now she is injured, and there's Anshu Nagar. I think she played really well in the DPL. She's very young, 14, 15, can generate a lot of pace at this age. So you can get those options, but they cannot be your like the first option. They have to go for an India captain. There are not many bowlers who have played. There is Shikha Pandey in the mix, but she has been AWOL for like so long, so you can't really just bank on her. I think people will go for her, but yeah, again, there will be a certain recency bias for Kranti Gaud as well.
Yeah, so this Pacers discussion, I was just looking through the retained list, and I don't think any team has Meghna or and all of those guys are going to be in demand come tomorrow. That's
Even
one
Arundhati
interesting aspect
Reddy.
that fans can watch out for. Yeah, even Arundhati Reddy. Yeah, also very good with the bat lower down the order. So yeah, these are some of the guys who will be in top demand, I guess, tomorrow. From UP Warriors, let's move to the other team who had not had a good run in the WPL over the last 3 years. That is Gujarat Giants. Again, I think a very simple strategy will build the team around Australians. The two players they have retained are Ash Gardner and Beth Mooney. They released Phoebe Litchfield as well, one of the bigger names who teams will be eyeing in the auction. Dipanshu, what do you make of the two retentions that they have made?
Gardner is the key player for them for almost all the 3 years, but that shows the. I think it was a good decision for them to retain Gardner because he is a perfect all rounder for any team. Also, for Phoebe Richfield, they can use Pratika Rawal, someone like Indian opener they can get. So I think that's why they decided to leave with Phoebe go.
Yeah, although Phoebe played at five for Giants, if I remember correctly, in a lot of matches last time.
Yeah, she was batting in the middle order. They also had Laura Wolbert in the mix. They had Bet Mooney, so they had to kind of uh,
Yeah,
work around with her batting position. Yeah, and also
right.
Beth Mooney, a good retention considering her age, and that you'll have to play for 3 more years when you're building at a mega auction. And actually, what do you make of it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, see, for Mumbai, Nat Silver and Haley Matthews, for them, Beth Mooney, Ash Gardner, these are like I think the top retentions throughout. Like, if we were to speak of overseas players, and they have been on the top of their performances in the last few years, so it kind of makes sense to have those names, and they are big names across the globe in women's cricket. So obviously, there's that ambassador thing that also comes into the play. But again, yeah, Gujarat Giants has a lot to think because they seem very clueless as of the last few seasons, and they would again want to kind of build upon like a good team, and at least for the next 2 3 years be sorted on how they're gonna have the like even scouting wise, like which players they're gonna back, because as of now I don't think they have a lot of surprise elements or a lot of players they have kind of mentored or backed in the season. So hopefully they will find their route this season.
Yeah. It hurt when you mentioned Clueless as an Clueless for Gujarat Giants as an Ahmedabad boy, but I think it makes sense as well. They've also had Mithali Raj and Nusin Al Kadir in the coaching setup, and now I don't think they are around anymore. So there's been a lot of chopping and changing happening there, and hopefully they get it right. And the fact that they've retained only two players, but they have a purse of only 9 crores, I think. So I think the top two players have gotten the big money, and they'll now have to build an entire, at least I think what 13 more players in 9 crores. Will it get
Yeah,
tricky, or is it doable in action?
yeah, I mean I stay in Ahmedabad as well, so you are critical of your own home ground, right? So that's why I think I'm also more critical towards Gujarat Giants. But it will again depend a lot on which names pop up when. That's the entire dynamics of how an auction works. Like within the sets on who is gonna pop up when they pick out the names. So I think yeah, it also comes down to a lot of luck. However mind games you can play, but it at least somewhat boils down to who's coming when in the auction. But again, they'll have to also bank upon few players who might go unsold in the first go and then come up in the accelerated sets. I think for them also they'll have to, because 9 crore they'll probably want to get a few marquee players, and once they've gotten like maybe they spend 2 crores 1.5 crores, then they'll be left with like for two players they'll be left for like 6 crore to get everybody else. So they'll have to go for a few players at base price of 10 and 20 lakhs. So it's gonna again get down to how well they can scout and pick players who are not so much in the limelight but can really do well for the franchisee.
Right. So that is that about Gujarat Giants. Again, two retentions, Gardner and Mooney, two Australians. They've always liked their Australians and will have to remain in that way. see if any more Australians join them in the mix this time around. Uh, Now we'll move to the final franchise that's left in the mix. Of course, season two champions RCB. Uh, I mean, I don't have to say anything. The fan favorite. They've always been the fan favorite with Smriti Mandana in the mix, and they've kind of managed to retain Richa Ghosh, Priyanka Patil, and Ellis Perry. They've had to release Renuka Singh Thakur, but they do have an RTM option available for her, if I'm not wrong. So they'll be hoping that they are able to get Renuka back in the mix. But overall, Dipanshu, what do you make of the four retentions? Shreyanka ahead of Renuka, especially.
Yeah, it's almost the core team of RCB because these four are the pillars for them in the last two editions. But I will see who will they replace Sophie Define with. I really want Laura and Smriti together because they both are the top two batters in the world. So, but it won't be that easy. But let's see.
I think they will go for Pratika because of Smriti Pratika being amazingly well in the entire year, not just the World Cup. Their partnership, the runs they have made is close to what Tendulkar Ganguly have made in partnerships. So they should go for Pratika Rahul. I think if they want to build upon the partnership, and she's been doing great, and hopefully she will recover soon. I think even Asha Shobana is someone they had, and she's been doing really well. As a spinner, she got injured, so probably they would want her back now that she is almost recovered.
So five overseas slots means a lot of potential to get in some bigger names. I think Amelia Kerr, if they're able to get in to complement the off spin that Sriyanka bowls, and they've also, if they're able to get that in, then I think a major problem of their middle order will be solved. I think with Perry at one end and then Amelia and then having Richa Ghosh, I think that's a very solid lineup. Won't you say, Inakshi?
Yeah, yeah. I think Deandra Doughton is also somebody they might go for because again they need somebody with, if not Pratika, they might, and they have overseas slots, so they could go for her. Yeah, a lot of other players which I feel could fit in the RCB circuit. It's just based on the kind of setup they have built, like maybe like a Chanel Henry. And I feel, yeah, Renuka, they'll go back to her. They will try to get her because they have an RTM. And they have, again, RCB is a team which is good at scouting. They have been, the scouts have been going to a lot of domestic tournaments, just like MI. I think MI and RCB are the teams who are actually going on ground and also calling a lot of players to their camps. RCB recently called a few players to their camps and uh, gave them trials. So I think RCB is gonna come back strongly with the surprise elements that we have been seeing over the years as well. So hopefully they can again build a title-winning team, and I think they need it after what had happened last year at IPL. I think they need another win so that they can have that redemption with their fans. They had been silent for like 4 or 5 months on socials, and all of that happened. So they're gonna go all in to build a team which is good, fan friendly, obviously with Smriti in. So they will, like I said, want to get to Pratika as well and want to have that redemption.
Right. That is all about all the five teams that we have in the mix. Let's move to our next segment where, Inakshi, I know you follow the domestic circuit quite closely. Are there any names that you think you can watch out for? Pratika, you mentioned, and the only reason I put Pratika here is because she isn't really looked as a T20 prospect, at least for now. She's seen as someone more suited to the longer format. Uh, you seem to think otherwise. You seem to think RCB will go for her. Any other names that you think will be in demand among the Indians in the mix, the uncapped
I
Indians?
I think it will depend on franchisee to franchisee. Like for example, for Mumbai, somebody like a Humaira Kazi, who was part of their team, then was dropped, and then again she's been doing good in the circuit, like a Sanika Chalke. So they are players who are doing good in the Mumbai circuit, and a lot of the tournament will happen majorly in Mumbai, so it kind of makes sense for Mumbai to back them up. And like I said, they would want to get one or two names like an Anshu Nagar. She, like I said, she's very young. She's been doing great in Delhi Premier League. She even troubled somebody like a Priya Punia who's quite experienced. So ये एक दो नाम ऐसे रहेंगे जो they would want, like they won't be playing straight away, but probably because ये mega auction है तो they will want to retain and mentor over a few years. For maybe like a Gujarat Giant or for RCB, they will again try to get from their circuits, because that is where they're also scouting more. It is easier for a Mumbai scout to scout from Mumbai and for a Bangalore scout to scout from Karnataka, and we have seen that trend over the years as well. I think Diya Yadav, like I mentioned, is very similar to how Shefali bats. In bowlers, Vaishnavi Sharma is there. Then Brinda Dinesh, she's been doing really well. There are other overseas uncapped players as well. There is one from England, Devina Perrin. She had a great season here. So could be a few names. Some players from associate nations like a Tara Norris, or I think there's a Thailand player as well who's been doing well. A wicketkeeper from UAE, I think Satish is her name. It will be tricky to get them in, but again, because overseas slots are less, but in the six slot in the squad, they might want to get one associate nation player, and it's good for the brand fair play and also kind of to build global presence of the game overall.
Yeah, you make a sorry. Yeah, so you make a very good point about the associate players. So there are a total of 4 or 5 associate players in the mix in the auction. One of them is Tara Norris, obviously. There is Tirtha Satish and Isha Oda from UAE. There's that Thai cricketer you mentioned, and there is Scotland's Bryce sister, the Catherine Bryce and Sarah Bryce. So, Dipanshu, I'd like to bring you in here. We've had this rule of teams getting to play 5 overseas players if one of them is from an associate nations. I think with Tara Norris playing in the WPL, we've seen that being implemented as well. Uh, do you think? Sorry, was it Tara Norris or was it Mahika, someone who's played in the WPL? But we've seen that rule in play. My question here is, do you see any of these associate players being picked in the auction, Dipanshu?
I really like the Scottish sisters, Sarah Bryce and that, but they are batters. I don't think the associate batters will be that much picked. There might be wicketkeeper batsman, that UAE batter you're talking about. She might be picked because there are not many wicketkeeper Indians in that. Uma Chetri is there, but I don't think there are many others, so they might go for her.
Yeah, I think Dipanshu rightly said Uma Chetri would be a good, like, people will go for her. Easy Jones is there. But associate nations, A, because they don't have that kind of an experience, and B, overseas slots are hard to fill in. The only reason for me to look at associate players is to build upon the game globally. Like somebody from a UAE or from USA playing in WPL, the biggest one of the big leagues after Big Bash now. It helps the game overall globally, and ICC with Olympics now having cricket, they should kind of the teams should maybe get one player. I mean, it could be a very different approach to see things for a very different perspective. But I would want that personally, to be fair.
Yeah, we always want players to be there on merit. If they feel that the players are good enough, I think they come to the. But I also believe this rule that WPL has set in place of allowing an extra overseas players. I think that's pretty decent, isn't it? Allows to put team also that extra leeway to experiment with their lineups. But that being said, as Inakshi rightly mentioned at the very start, that there are a lot of players who will go unfortunately unsold because the total number of teams is just 5. So that is 18 into 5. That's the maximum number of players that will be in action. But I think at this point, as you mentioned, it does feel that the league is heading in the right direction, and maybe it's time to expand to more teams, at least a couple of more teams. And with the World Cup win, we hope that there are more and more Indian girls picking up the sport and banging down the door so that we can see more elaborate WPL, if I can put it. So yeah, that being said, that's all we have for you guys from this WPL auction preview. The auction is set for tomorrow in Delhi. I think it will start around 3:30 p.m. IST, and there will be a lot of big names up for the grabs. Expect some bidding war, and as Inakshi mentioned, expect UP Warriors to jack up the price and others to just sit back and relax a bit. Not relax, but get frustrated over okay, what's happening. That is bound to happen tomorrow. Uh, the auction will obviously be live streamed. You can catch it on the broadcasters channel, and we'll also be running a live blog uh, on our website at thebridge.in. And if you're unable to catch the live stream, you can hop onto our blog and follow it, and we'll also be covering it extensively on our socials. So make sure that you subscribe or follow us across all the platforms. Thank you, Dipanshu. Thank you, Inakshi, for joining. This was a nice session, I believe, and thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. And just one last conclusion. Bridge has been covering
Yep.
WPL women's cricket ever since, long before it became popular with other media organizations. Please follow them. Please follow their work. It's been long since they have been doing it, and I was glad to be part of it. So just thank you, Abhijit, for doing this. And hopefully, with this WPL, there'll be more and more viewership for the game, for the auctions, and more people invested on who goes where, and a lot of new girls also get into the WPL setup. And I want to see all those family reactions, friends reactions of players getting picked in the WPL with new names as well. So hopefully that happens tomorrow.
Hopefully, it will. So, that being said, thank you guys for joining in. See you next time. Thank you.